Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm joined by Karina, and so we are going to be talking all about contest prep, kind of beforehand, during, and even up to like show day peak week, which is where we're at right now.
Yep.
We're 2 days out from her show, and we really wanted to talk, not of course about the entire process, but just kind of some things to expect. So Karina did a show about 6 years ago. It was her first show ever, and it was kind of a whole catastrophe. So this is
a horror story.
Yeah.
Happy Halloween, by the way.
This is literally recorded on Halloween. It was
Fitting.
an actual horror story, and that was so long ago too. So there's been
It could have been its own horror film.
Yeah.
Like, it was really bad.
Literally, somebody told her that she was drinking protein, and it was just like a meat nose, so there was like no calories.
Yeah. Long story short, I basically went from like 135 to 98 pounds in like 4 months. Came out of there with 40 pounds of rebound body fat in 2 months and an eating disorder for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
So
sick.
But we're all good now.
Things are good now. Clearly a little rough start to the
quick synopsis on that
competitive journey.
Yeah.
But we wanted to touch on a few things, kind of like, hey, if you're trying to get into prep, like what you'd be expecting. And I think something that we've talked about a lot more is just kind of like, hey, like having this almost like informed consent about your prep, what to expect. So first, to kind of kick it off season, and we want to kind of talk about some of the pitfalls that maybe we ran into because of 6 years ago what happened that literally still kind of affected you up until about this year in a very different way, but still did. So kind of touch on that.
Definitely. So rebounding as hard as I did, after that first show, I had kind of always seen myself as very overweight. Now, obviously, that is very hard to be objective with ourselves, but in kind of subconsciously in the back of my mind, I had always kind of been trying to diet. I would take some time off to not, meticulously track. However, I would say that for the majority of the last 4 to 5 years, I was always somehow restricting or spending the majority of the year trying to diet, because in my mind, I was like, I am overweight. There's no need for me to continue to reverse. I just need to train hard and, try to eat less and kind of get my body back under control. And maybe we can put in a photo here of what that looked like, going from 100 pounds to like 155.
I don't know if you think I am over here, Karina, but okay.
No, for me.
No, I know. I don't know if I can add a photo in, but I'll try.
Quick tutorial. We're not that fancy. But anyways, so essentially what happened over the last few years, and I didn't really realize it until we got into like the nitty gritty of this prep, was that like I hadn't truly taken a break from any sort of restriction. I hadn't truly been consistent with being able to eat enough, or at least in a surplus, because even people who have known me closely for the last 3 or 4 years, like for my boyfriend even, he was like, I feel like you've been dieting for the last 4 years, and this is kind of just like the most extreme diet you've done, obviously because I had the goal of getting on stage. More so like for myself as well as kind of from a learning perspective, because I am coaching clients. And this is where we really wanted to make this video, because as I am also coaching clients who are getting on stage, there are some people who are coming to the end of it, as am I, who are like, I will never do this again, because they weren't really mentally ready for what to expect when it gets really, really hard. But yes, starting in the off season, I would say that's the first mistake I made with going into this prep, is not intentionally taking at least a year consistently to not be dieting or restricting.
And it wasn't like you were so low when we started the prep necessarily, because we did take a little bit of time together to, build some things up, but it wasn't like so much, or wasn't long enough necessarily, right?
It was only maybe a few months, and then before that I was kind of eating at maintenance.
Yeah,
but it wasn't
trying to diet before that.
Yeah, it wasn't a meticulous reverse upward. And it's not like this is Lauren's fault. It was, she didn't know entirely, to be honest, because I was kind of just doing my own thing, how long I had been sort of restricting and loosely tracking and restricting all that time moving into our short off season into this prep. However, this is something that I've learned from a athlete and coaching perspective, that some people need more than 4, 6 months or sometimes even more than a year, depending on, you know, the diet history of that person, such as myself, which was horrendous.
Diet history is huge, and I know we've all talked about this, and even Jillian, one of our other coaches, has talked about this a lot because it is so impactful, you know what I mean? Sure. And I think it's something that people just completely gloss over, and they want to start this journey to get on stage, but it's like, whoa, let's back up really quick. So that's kind of first and foremost, and then now, as far as prep, we're not going to get into all the details of prep because that would be a whole like 10-hour podcast. But as far as one of the hardest things with prep, it's kind of this physical and emotional combined, like drained feeling that you get. So basically, when you have gone super far past your set point, and this is different for everybody, you're going to run into issues with physically feeling like you literally can't do anything, and then this also then turns into an emotional mental thing because obviously your physical self feeds into the emotional self, right? So this is something that I experience a lot when I'm prepping. There's some people who you'll hear about prepping and they're like, everything's great, there's no issues, I feel fine all the time. And then there's other people who, like myself and like you, we've had to get away from this set point that is, you know, naturally I'm not walking around with super lean just body, right? So when you are getting farther past that, it is going to be a little bit more challenging. So for me, I have very specific weights and body fats that I hit that it's like screeching halt, because before there it's like, this is hard, but now this is like brutal. So I know that you ran into this too, and it was ironic because we kind of ran into these weight things as well. And it's just so interesting that I see this with a lot of clients. So kind of explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, so there's a very specific number that my body is very comfortable at, and you know, people talk about like the rate of loss being very important and keeping track of that throughout prep. However, like this number I could not get past for about 7 weeks, and it was just like clawing and nailing, like keeping track of every single calorie of NEAT that I was doing to try to get past this like set point that my body was very comfortable at. And it got to the point where I would push and push and push, and when your body is essentially just like physically done, I feel like there is this nervous and endocrine, you know, alarm that goes off, telling your body like, hey, like you've never been here before, or you have not been here in a very long time. This is not where I am homeostatically happy. Let's kind of make all systems go to tell this person who's in charge of our body to eat more, move less. So it, for me,
crazy.
Yeah, for me, it kind of presented itself in nonstop anxiety, kind of, you know, having these random waves of almost like depression, and like crying like over the littlest things, and, you know, almost panicking over very small things that if I, you know, had enough food, I feel like would just be a small little detail. So when you are essentially stripped of this essential survival tool, which is, you know, eating enough food, your body and body fat, it's, you almost kind of feel like an infant, like when babies are like hungry and tired, they just cry. And it's because like at that point I can't like eat food. And my body is just like, do whatever we can to make sure this person eats enough. However, I mean, that's a set point we were luckily able to get past, and that happens in waves. So you get past that set point and you're okay for a little while, and then you meet a new one, and then it's all over again. So Lauren made a good post on this a few weeks ago, where essentially when it comes to contest prep, you just have to ride the waves, because there's gonna be really tough weeks, and sometimes those weeks are gonna be like 4 or 5, 6 weeks in a row, and then all of a sudden you're gonna feel great and you're gonna be happy.
It's the weirdest thing, like you literally wake up and you're like, hey, I feel like okay, and it could be 10 pounds less than the point before that you were like couldn't even get past, and 10 pounds is just relative depending on somebody's body size, right? Definitely. So 5 pounds could be different than 10 pounds. Anyways, you guys know what I'm saying. But like literally you'll just wake up and you're like, am I okay? Am I dreaming? And then all of a sudden like a new thing hits, right? So I think that it's really important for people to understand, again, that you might hear from people that contest prep is really easy and dieting is super fun and this and that. And if you're talking about a regular lifestyle diet, you should not be feeling like this, right? That is not kind of the goal, because that is not the body fat goal. If you are trying to step on stage and you are getting very far from where your body physiologically likes to sit, you are going to run into this. There is no way around it. Yes, you develop kind of the mental fortitude and tactics to be able to handle it better once you do it more, but you still have to handle it. So there's also periods of time where, you know, like right now, like I've been in an off season, and for the past year, it took me about a year to kind of feel normal again after my last season, which kind of was a compilation of all the years kind of just in a row. And, you know, I kind of was, you know, I'm presented now, it's kind of the end of the year, like, well, am I going to compete next year? And I'm like, I don't even think that I'm in a position to where that's a good idea, because I know how long it takes me to diet. And if I want to get on stage next year, like it better be like, I better be dieting like now, right? And I just don't think that I'm in a position because of the, you know, the muscle mass that I need, and kind of where, you know, physically I don't think I'm there, but also mentally I know that I don't want to do that. I've done it 22 times, right? Like I've literally done this so much to where I know exactly how I'm going to feel. And if you are not ready to put yourself in that position of chronic shit, then don't do it. And this is not to be, woe is me. This is a choice. You're signing up for this. So you have to be aware that it's going to get very, very challenging, most likely for you. And I don't care what, you know, mindset you have, whatever, it's going to be hard. Embrace that suck, embrace that shittiness, and welcome it. But you have to take enough time off in order to welcome that. Right? And I think that that's really important for people to understand.
And I know I previously said that I was like depressed and super anxious, and I'm not saying that like
not clinically months not getting like
I'm not saying that like contest prep is going to ruin your life. However, it's important for people to know that it does get hard, and that before you go into it, know that you can, you know, face a few weeks where you feel like this, and you just need to make sure you have the right perspective, the mental fortitude, and understand that it's temporary and you're just doing it to get on stage. Like, it's not the end of the world. And like Lauren said, like the best athletes, or if you are going into this in the right way, you can actually come out of it like stronger, because it's something super hard you have to overcome. And that's what I feel like bodybuilding has really done for me this time around, is that I didn't feel like I could get through what I had gone through. And at the end of the season, I'm like really glad that I went through those hard times. And now the next time I do a contest prep, like in a year after taking a year off, I am more mentally prepared and, you know, ready to overcome these obstacles that are inevitably going to happen. So I think that was really well said, and I just want people to understand this, so when you're getting into it, you're very informed about it.
So that's kind of, okay, pre-prep, contest prep. Now we're 2 days out. You're 2 days out. I'm just going, and I've been coaching you. But it is you getting on stage, thankfully. I will be in the stands drinking wine, screaming. Actually, don't worry. I won't ruin all your videos, because if I scream, it's going to be like, oh, who's that? Is that a dude? No, that's Lauren. So the third part I want to talk about is just show day stuff coming up, you know. And there's, again, so many things we could talk about here, but I know that planning is really, really key, and there's so many things that you have to plan for. So if you are traveling, you have to figure out, okay, are you flying, are you driving, hotel situation, are you bringing food, are you, you know, sending icon meals to the hotel, or are you doing both, you know, packing your bag, like all of that stuff, setting up the appointments, or are you doing it yourself? Do you have all the things to do it yourself? So what are some things that you found really helpful kind of leading up to this? So kind of setting up a timeline when you begin prep, or kind of like halfway through prep, where you are, okay, I'm for sure locked into the show. Booking everything ahead of time, because these last few weeks, you're mentally likely going to forget what your name is half of the time. So, you know, making sure that you are doing, you know, booking your hotel, booking the tanning, hair, makeup, doing all of that stuff when you know, have picked the show, or a little bit like mentally all there, because there are some days when calories are super low that you're just not. And so what I did is around maybe like 10, 12-ish weeks out is when I started booking everything. And then I think at like 15 weeks out is when I actually like locked myself in for the show, and then shortly after booked
hotel, makeup, hair, and all of that stuff. As
now,
far
also, normally we don't always lock clients into shows.
Yeah.
And you're hearing Karina say dates that are kind of really far out. We have been dieting for a while.
Yeah.
So we knew, and there was a few other things that were kind of coming up with like the physique summit and different stuff that we had to plan around. So we knew like, okay, this is pretty much like, based on how things are going, this is going to be like probably the last show that we need to do, because you have things beforehand and things after.
I have things after that I can't be dieting.
So it's like, all right, we have to, this is what we're going to pick. So for a lot of clients, we don't necessarily do that.
Yeah.
But for your situation, we had things we had to look at before and after. And also we had been doing it for so long that it wasn't like we just rushed into doing the show.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, hey, we've made some progress. And I think that we could be ready in these many weeks.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's been a very slow process, but I would definitely rather have it that way, at least for my body and my metabolism. And then, you know, just leading up the week of the show, I started packing for show day and everything a week and a half in advance, like getting my my suitcases packed, printing out Lauren's show day checklist like a week in advance and having it hung up every day and checking things off every day, because if I try to do everything the week of, I'm likely going to be so overwhelmed, so tired, that I'm not going to, you know, remember everything. And I am, even when I'm not dieting, I forget things all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just planning and then just being very early, like being ahead of the game is kind of like all contest prep is the key there.
Pretty much key for everything, but especially when you are packing for something. So, yeah, weekend before, start getting your stuff together that you can, because, like, you're probably not going to be wearing like your robe anywhere else, so just like pack it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like towels, sheets.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the only thing that isn't packed like right now is like my food, because I like to have it cooked semi-freshly, so I'll be doing that tonight.
Yeah, so you'll cook that today and you'll be good to go. And then lastly, this is something that is kind of works for off-season prep, show day, all the kinds of things, but kind of encompasses all of it. But it's to stop comparing yourself to either what you think you should look like or what other people look like. So this is rampant with social media, because first of all, people can post whatever the fuck they want, whatever time period they want. So somebody could literally post a picture from 2 years ago and you think that that was yesterday. It was not, right? And not saying there's anything bad with posting pictures that are old, because I mean, I do that too. Yeah. But it's sometimes people who aren't informed think, oh, this is what this person looks like all the time, or what they're happening walking around at. Also, what people don't understand either is, because I've been doing this for so long, I've seen myself all different shapes. I've seen clients, I've seen friends, you know, people, influencers, you know, use that word. And so some people have very dramatic body parts, right? So some people have crazy abs. Some people have crazy glutes. Some people have crazy shoulders. If you have one of those things, you're probably going to take pictures to where that looks good. I mean, obviously, why would you take a picture where you're like, no, my shoulders look pretty good. I'm not going to show them. Fuck that. You're going to show your shoulders, right? Yeah. But then, and then you're flexing and you're hitting something with different lighting. Everybody goes, oh my God, is that what that person looks like? Yeah. Nobody looks like that walking around, first of all. I've seen so many of my clients, like I have amazing clients, right, who have gotten on stage and have placed well, turned pro, won titles. And when you see them posing, even they look very different in person. I'll see them walking in the hotel room and it's like, oh, that person's ready. They look like a skeleton. And then they pose and they look great, right? So a lot of people see stuff online, but they don't understand what that looks like in real life. So they might see somebody who's super shredded, who looks, quite frankly, emaciated in clothes, but they're in a bikini check-in photo and they're flaring their lats and their shoulders, and you're like, holy shit, I don't even lift. I shouldn't even do this show. Yeah. I'm just going to pull out now. So I think it's really important for people to not do that. And of course it's easy because, you know, if you follow people on social media or even your friends or whatever, you're like, oh, I want to, or have clients, oh, I'm kind of your size. I don't know if I'm looking like you. You're not going to look like me. We all have different bodies. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the goal.
Some people are like, you know, just muscle machines and have way more
You're
muscle.
way denser than I am when I'm lean. There's nothing I can do about that. We just have different body types, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's some people who are always going to have really tiny waists and pretty big legs. Other people who are going to have shredded legs, bigger waists. Nothing you can do about that besides, of course, you know, changing things over time and posing and dieting and whatever. But so the whole point of this is, you know, if you get kind of caught up comparing yourself, you're only hurting your progress. So did you find yourself doing that at certain points?
Definitely. So I think one thing I am super guilty of is like looking at people's pictures and then like dying to know how tall they were, because I was like, oh, they're that body weight. If I want to look as good as they do, I have to get down to that body weight. Now, I'm not trying to brag, but I have a lot of muscle like on my legs, and so I am definitely like heavy for a 5'4" bikini competitor. Now I'm also not like crazy shredded either, but we can talk about, you know, like your first time getting on stage, you're not gonna look as shredded as like your 4th and 5th time getting on stage. But I think that one thing I personally struggled with is watching like contest prep vlogs, and then, you know, seeing people at like 10 weeks out, 8 weeks out, and then me being like, okay, I need to look like that at 10 weeks out. I need to look like that at 8 weeks out. Everyone's body's different. Where we all hold body fat, where we lose it first, where we lose it last, where we put muscle on, you know, the most is completely different. You know, limb length, trunk length, the ratios to, like, our bodies are completely different. And so I caught myself doing that, and, you know, talked to Lauren about it, and we discussed that, hey, at the end of the day, this sport, it's not like, this sport is all about how well you can beat yourself every single time you get on stage. Now, like, up until, you know, you're fighting for Miss Bikini Olympia, like, you are definitely trying to look better than everybody else. But at the end of the day, the only way you can get to that point is by beating yourself every single time, and just focusing on your personal progress with your training, your diet, your posing, and all that goes into contest prep.
Yeah, so I think that sums it up perfectly. So we're super excited. This will come out next week, so Karina will have already been on stage. But
oh my God, eating donuts.
Yes. So we're gonna be going to St. Augustine. What is the show called?
The NBC Clash All South.
Okay, yeah. Literally, people, I never know anybody's shows. I just know, like, the date. It's written in my calendar. So-and-so show. Like, that's it. Like, I don't know show dates. I don't know.
It's Karina's show.
Yeah, literally, Karina and Christine are competing tomorrow on Saturday. Okay, that's it. I don't know when. I just know where. But yeah, so congrats, even though you haven't done it yet. And I really hope this helped you guys. And if you are thinking about doing a show, or even if you are a seasoned competitor, we all kind of fall into all these categories. Like, I know that I've like fucked my off seasons up. I know that I go through these terrible waves when I'm prepping. I know that sometimes I've, you know, been disorganized show week, and that really bites me in the ass. And then of course we all compare ourselves to our own selves as well as other people. So I know that this is going to be helpful for everybody. But if you are getting into this, understand what you are getting into this, and really, really take the right amount of time. I get asked this question all the time. I'm thinking about doing a show. When should I do it? Reverse engineer at least a year out. Like, literally at least. Bare minimum, if you've never competed before, you need probably 6 months of an off season just working on consistency, training hard, building the right habits, and then at least 6 months to diet. That might not even mean that you're gonna have the absolute best physique, but at least that's gonna be kind of a good starting place. So hope these tips were helpful. If you guys are interested in asking us anything else, I don't know why I said interested. If you guys need to ask us anything else, let us know. You can message us at Lauren Conlon on Instagram and
Karina Noboa on Instagram.
There we go. Have a great day, y'all.
Bye.